You did everything right. You made the budget, you read the book, you said, "This time is different," and you meant it. And then, quietly, without even realizing it, you sabotaged yourself. Again. Maybe you got the raise and immediately found something to spend it on. Maybe an opportunity showed up and you talked yourself out of it before you even tried. Maybe you just froze. And the worst part? You're smart. You know better. So why does knowing better change absolutely nothing? Here's the thing nobody's saying out loud. Your brain isn't broken, it's following orders. Old orders. Orders written when you were a child who had no other choice. The very habits you're trying to break might be the ones keeping you emotionally safe. And that's exactly why willpower alone will never be enough. Let me introduce you to 3 things that are quietly running your financial life, and none of them are your credit score. The first one is something called your money blueprint. Psychologist T. Harv Eker described it like this. Your brain has an internal thermostat for wealth. And just like a real thermostat, if the temperature drops too low or gets too high, the system kicks in to bring it back to what feels normal. So if you grew up in a home where money was always tight, where adults fought about bills, where wanting things felt greedy, your nervous system filed all of that away. It said, "This is what home feels like. This is what safe feels like." And now, every time you start to earn more, save more, become more, some quiet part of you pulls the emergency brake. Not because you're self-destructive, because your brain thinks abundance is a threat. The second thing is called cognitive dissonance. It's that unbearable static that plays in your head when your actions don't match your self-image. Here's how it plays out with money. If somewhere deep down you believe you are not the kind of person who has money, then having money will feel wrong, uncomfortable, like wearing someone else's clothes. And the brain, brilliant little problem solver that it is, will resolve that discomfort the fastest way it knows how. It'll get rid of the money. An impulse buy here, a treat yourself there, and suddenly the balance looks familiar again, and your nervous system goes, "There we go, back to normal." And the third thing, and this one's the deepest, is called intergenerational trauma. Now, stay with me here because this is where it gets real. Research in epigenetics, the science of how environment shapes our genes, suggests that survival patterns get passed down, not just as stories or advice, but as nervous system responses, as reflexes. Your grandmother's scarcity might literally live in your body as anxiety around spending. Your father's shame about asking for more might show up as your inability to negotiate your own salary. You didn't just inherit their furniture, you inherited their fear. Now, here's where I want to sit with you for a second, because underneath all of this, the sabotage, the freeze, the spending spirals, there's a grief that almost nobody talks about. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And I think about that constantly when it comes to money, because for so many of us, staying broke isn't laziness, it's loyalty. Loyalty to a parent who always struggled and would feel quietly judged if you surpassed them. Loyalty to a community where rich people were the enemy, and having money meant becoming someone other, someone who forgot where they came from, someone who got too big, too proud, too much. If you grew up hearing things like, "money doesn't grow on trees," or "we're not like those people," or that sharp little phrase, "who do you think you are?" Those words didn't just disappear when you became an adult. They became the voice in your head that sounds exactly like your own, and you never questioned it. Why would you? It felt like truth. It felt like you. And here's the real question, the one that might sting a little. What part of your real self did you have to kill to survive your childhood? Did you have to kill your ambition so you wouldn't make your parents feel small? Did you have to kill your hope so disappointment wouldn't crush you every time? Did you have to shrink your dreams down to a realistic size just to feel like you still belonged somewhere? Because that's where the programming actually lives. Not in your bank account, not in your spending habits, in your identity, in the story you decided, or were told, about what kind of person you are. So what does this actually look like in real life? Because it's rarely dramatic, it's usually quiet, subtle, almost logical in the moment. You might find yourself doing this. You get a financial windfall, a bonus, a gift, a tax return, and within weeks, it's just gone. Not on anything meaningful, just gone. And you feel a strange, almost inexplicable relief when it is. Or you avoid looking at your bank account, not because you're irresponsible, because the number on that screen feels like a verdict on your worth as a human being, and some days you just can't handle the verdict. You might find yourself chronically undercharging for your work, your time, your talent. And when someone does offer to pay you what you actually deserve, your first instinct, almost before the thought is fully formed, is to talk them down. You might find really rational-sounding reasons why this isn't the right time to invest, to start the business, to ask for the raise. There's always something to wait for. The timing is never quite right. Always. You might be incredibly generous with other people's needs while chronically neglecting your own. Because paying for a friend's dinner feels easy and natural, but paying for your own growth, your own healing, your own course or therapy, that feels indulgent, selfish almost. And you might find yourself self-medicating the anxiety with spending, not on investments or things that build your future, on things that give you a quick hit of control or beauty or comfort. Because when the future feels unsafe and uncertain, the only thing that feels real and manageable is right now, this moment, this purchase, this small thing you can actually control. Recognize any of those? Because here's the thing, and this is the part that changes everything. You weren't born this way. No child comes into the world believing they don't deserve abundance. That was taught, carefully, consistently, unintentionally taught, which means it can be unlearned. So what does unlearning actually look like? Because I'm not going to insult you with just change your mindset. That's not healing, that's just painting over mold. Real change starts with reparenting the part of you that learned scarcity as love. What does that mean practically? It means noticing, without judgment, when money triggers a feeling rather than a thought. Because the moment it becomes a feeling, you're not dealing with math anymore. You're dealing with memory. And in that moment, the most powerful question you can ask yourself is, whose voice is this? When you say, I can't afford to think that big, is that your conclusion? Or is it an inheritance you never agreed to accept? Start small. Don't go from zero to investment portfolio overnight. Build tolerance for financial discomfort slowly, because you're retraining a nervous system, not just breaking a habit. Start by just looking at your account without spiraling. Then track your spending without shame. Then let a small amount of money just sit there, untouched, and notice what feelings that stirs up. You're not being weak by going slowly, you're being surgical. And the third piece, and maybe the most important, is give yourself full permission to want more without it meaning you're betraying anyone. Wanting better doesn't make you greedy, it makes you human. And the people who loved you, even if they couldn't model abundance, even if they accidentally passed their fear down to you, most of them wanted more for you than they ever had for themselves. You building it, you actually achieving it, isn't a betrayal of where you came from. It's the answer to a prayer they didn't know how to say out loud. Here's what I want you to walk away knowing today. Your brain wasn't programmed to fail you, it was programmed to protect you by a younger version of you who was doing the absolute best they could with what they had in a world they didn't fully understand yet. That kid deserves your compassion, not your frustration. And this version of you, the one watching this right now, deserves the chance to finally rewrite those orders. You aren't broken, you're just adapted. And adaptation, unlike destiny, can always be changed. So tell me, which part of this hit closest to home for you? Was it the loyalty piece, the identity piece, one of those 6 behaviors? Drop it in the comments, no judgment here. Just us being honest with ourselves for once and figuring this out together. Sonnet 4.